There will be
You are
times
listening to
when you
Push Talk with
seemingly
Shantae.
Yo, I got 200 of them
Mm-hmm.
every 12-week session inside of a controlled environment that we care nothing about the basketball. The motto of our program is no workshop, no jump shot. Meaning before they get on the court, we're going to sit in the stands and we're going to have a conscious conversation of problem solving, conflict resolution, or critical thinking, or whatever the height of the city is at that time. Last Thursday, the height of the city was the shooting of some juveniles that one shot the other at Whiff High School. That was our workshop that night. Because the kids that come and play with us, you think they don't know them?
Come on.
So we're gonna have some conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can run ball. For me, basketball was just debate to get these so-called warring communities inside of a controlled environment where we can have some conversation where they can see the same thing that goes on in Mosby Project is the same thing that goes on in Jackson Ward. Just like the same thing that goes on in the Vista is the same thing going on in the old Walker Village, Circle, any of our housing projects in the city back home. The same thing that's going on is the same thing. We just got to find a way to make them understand it.
Listen, I don't know if it's just most of us that do this type of work, but my thing has always been, let me find something that will attract them, meaning that, it might be fun. We might, it's got to look, like it's something they interested in, But when I get them in there, we having real talk, or there's a real subject behind it, and there's some real substance behind it. But I can't just get you in and just say, "Oh, we're just gonna have some talking. We're gonna just talk." You're not gonna get them in that way. So I applaud you for using that ball. We're gonna get more into that, like you said, but you gotta bait them in to have that real talk, because you're not gonna be able to just get them in. You just say, "Come on in here at the gym at 12 o'clock. We're gonna sit on these bleachers and we're gonna talk." They not coming.
No, you have to have a bait, man. So exactly what the session I did in Vermont, that's what it was called. Change your bait. What are you using to get this particular demographic? Because a lot of times, man, we go out in communities and we set up bounce houses and tents and all type of things like that, man. But the demographic that's killing them, they ain't in bounce houses
at all.
They don't want a hot dog either.
Thank you.
Perhaps they may want some perks, they might want some lean, they might want something different. So that's a whole demographic we talking about, and you have to go be able to find a remedy to be able to have a conversation with that demographic, and how do you do that? Because that is the $1 million question that's facing this country right now. How do you talk to that demographic? How do you change the direction of that demographic? Well, some say, well, I'm just going to attack the young one so they won't grow up into that. Well, as I said before, they look up to the big homies in their neighborhood.
Come on.
Right? So why not try your best to find one of the leaders of that organization or those crews, those ones that stand out, right? And infect him with a good cancer or her with a good cancer, that when she goes back amongst the ranks, then they will make it, contagious. Inside of prison, I facilitated all of the state mandated programs and reentry for over 5 years, right? And no one could understand why our site was the #1 in reentry. Why? One, because I can speak the language of the people, but I also know how to be politically correct. So I know what temperament to use when I'm dealing with the demographic because I am that demographic.
Come on.
You are that demographic.
Absolutely.
So we know how to address the circumstance, right? So you start seeing infractions go down in the par. You start seeing men starting to understand. Only thing I did was erase the punitive element. I got the punitive element out the way. And made up realize that us in this pod, whether you're Blood, Crip, Aryan Brotherhood, MS-13, it didn't matter. We are not the enemy to each other. This punitive process that are hindering us from getting back to our family, to our children, that's the enemy. Once I did that, the next thing I got with Prince, I say, Prince, I need you to make me a sign. He said, what kind of sign, bro? A sign that says self-govern.
Come on.
And we put that sign in the pod. Boom. And we watch everybody walking, looking at it. So Young's like, what's that about? If you don't open your affairs, somebody else will. Such a circumstance is holding you right now. And it's worse outside.
Johnny, say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Don't open your affairs, somebody else will. Especially the laws that you're going to face when you leave this prison. I told people in Vermont, I said that, and I've been telling people this lately. And some of them looked at me and say, at first, it was like, this guy has to be institutionalized. When I said that when I left prison, it seems like I left society. When I came to society, it's like I was going to prison. I came to prison when I came out because there was no love. People wasn't, it wasn't a camaraderie of love and the things that I was used to, because in that system, you're gonna find a camaraderie of love. Because everybody's shared value is trying to get back home to the familiar scent of their mother's house.
Come on.
So we all in there fighting. When we lose a loved one, ain't a whole lot of counselors running down there to talk to us about the loved one we lost. We got to get with each other. When they deny us parole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30 times, we got to cry with each other. We got to get with each other and pull each other up. So there was a strength in there. It was a strong community. Whereas I come out here, everybody's on the corner with a cup needing $1.
Yes.
People are homeless all under bridges. You know, the community don't care about the community like it used to. So when they tell me it takes a village to raise them, P, and I say, well, let me tell you about that village. Because there's always one kid in that village that nobody wants their child to mess with because he's a little rough under the edge, because no one knows what's going on in the household.
That's the part.
And then no one loves this kid. This whole time he's growing up, man, he's feeling like he's just the meanest kid because no one showed him love. He went to his friend's house and he seen how his parents love on them, how they love on this and they love on that. But nobody loved this kid because he's a little rough on the edge. He don't have the latest sneakers. He's a little clothes are a little old. He's not that person. That'd be the same kid that grows up to kill the neighbor's kid.
Yep.
It'd be the same kid that we talking about right now that's heartless, that's got 3, 4 bodies and rapping about it.
Yep.
Because nobody wanted to love that kid right there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the finger pointing has to be pointed back at our own selves. And this is why I take responsibility in sessions when I ask people, when I speak, whether it's California, whether it's Philadelphia, whether that's wherever I go to speak, the first thing I ask people to do is say Julius Jeggedy. Because I want them to remember his name more than they remember mine. Because this is why I do what I do, because I owe. To be a part of taking the life of one person, it's like you took the life of all the entire humankind. And my court was different. You see, the mother of that day, usually the family of the defendant or the plaintiff or the person that has been wrong sits behind the prosecutor. This day, sis, they sat behind me. And I think they sat behind me because they wanted me to hear what they was feeling. And what I heard was a familiar sentence, a familiar sound to me. Of sounds of mothers when I was on the other side of the gun and they might have been on television crying about their loved one. Or this got to stop, this violence got to stop. That same sobbing, I know what it felt like, because when I got on a call from my own mother, my own grandmother, calling me to come to a basketball court on 29th and Oak. And when I got my own little brother, my baby brother, was laying under a sheet, dead. And I heard my grandma crying. I heard my aunts crying. It was the same cry that that woman behind me was crying. And it still haunts me today. This is the reason that I gotta keep pushing.
Absolutely.
I don't have a choice. Because one day I'm gonna stand before my creator, man, and he gonna ask me something.
That's right.
You know? And I'm gonna have to tell him something.
That's right.
One of the greatest things that I've done, one of the greatest things, the act of forgiveness that I've done, because I want the family of the victim of my crime to forgive me, is receiving a letter from a person that was incarcerated. And it just so happened to be the man that killed my brother, asking for forgiveness. And again, one day I know I'm going to stand before God and I'm going to need him to forgive me because I've done some things in my life that I'm going to need him. I'm in reparations right now to God. I'm in reparations right now to God, trying to pay back right now because I'm going to stand before him. So he wrote me and asked me for my gifts and I gave it to him. Not only did I do that, man, I got my family to say, forgive him as well. To the point that we all wrote letters to the parole board to ask that he be released. And that man is in Philadelphia right now living an honest life.
Come on.
So I understand what transformation is, man. And I know that when I say that my life sentence ordered by God, the judge had nothing to do with that. My sentence was given by God. but it was a long-term investment because he's seen something good in me.
That's right.
It was something that I had to do, but I had to go through those 23 years. I had to go through them, you know, and it made me who I am today. You know, it made me more in tune with who I am. It made me more in tune with humanity. It made me care about the common folk, you know, and which I've always cared about. The people that know my story from the days of old know that I did not play about my community not having what they're supposed to have, even though I was on the side of wrong.
Yeah.
Thinking I'm on the side of the right because I gave money and took care of people with groceries and paid bills for people.
Yeah.
I still was on the side of wrong.
Yeah.
I promise you right now, sis, man. I promise you right now, like that being on the side of right, man, that joint ain't so bad after all.
Come on.
And I tell these kids the same thing. I realize that I don't have to, I can still be cool. I can still be me. I can still be cool, you know, but I'm just on the side of right. I don't gotta perpetrate the fraud. I don't have to have a false bravado or put up a facade that I'm some type of killer.
Come on.
You know, and I want this to be contagious to our youngins, man, because, yo, man, a lot of our wounds are self-inflicted, man, and we constantly blame it on white folk and what they've done to us. And don't get me wrong, I understand the atrocities that they've done to us.
Yes.
There has to be a shift, man.
Yes.
And as I tell people all the time, perhaps the leader of the quote unquote free world will come from a person that's not yet free.
Come on.
Meaning that the prisons that society think that all of their trash has been disposed in. Some brilliant people there. This is why I fight so hard. This is why I fight so hard for the men. This is why I fight so hard for the children. This is why I show up at a General Assembly. This is why I show up on board members. This is why I advocate for dudes to get released. Because I understand the importance of their voice. I understand that it's going to take us that was once a part of the problem to come home and be a part of the solution.
Listen, you are, man, you got me in tears. It's real.
Yo, I cry every day. I cry every day. I cry every day. Like, you know, a sister just hit me, and you know, she had a, and it's back home. A sister hit me the other day, and I won't say her name, but she hit me the other day saying that, you know, a kid that she adopted at 9 years old was killed the other night at 19. You know what I'm saying? And like, this is a kid that loves skating. He loved that at Peninsula skating. He loved that skating ring up there. He been taught other kids how to skate. Now he's gone. Didn't even have a chance to even breathe, and you know, to see what it feel like to perhaps be a father, or you know, or none of those things. You know, all because of us not being able to how to handle conflict resolution.
Yes.
And it's even deeper than that, because it's something underlying. Whatever the quarrel was, the quarrel between them two or whoever that's on the other side of the gun, it's other underlying issues that no one wants to talk about. We know that we go inside of a courtroom, and there's a sign there with a lady that says Lady Justice with a scale and a blind home, and I promise you, that lady, that justice is only blind, except when it comes to people of color.
Come on.
That she has that scale in one hand, but she lifts that blindfold up and sees the person of color, and we throw us the book. You're talking to a man right now that he threw the book at, and I read it. And I read it. So now I just got to get a game to these kids, because once you get in the courtroom, here comes that lengthy sentence, and you going to prison at 19 years old. You don't understand the habeas corpus process. You don't have money for a lawyer. You don't have anything. And now you're trying to find out what you need to do. You go down to a law library in prison, and it's foreign to you. It's like reading French. You got to depend on somebody to try to help you. And luckily, there are some brilliant men inside of prison, inside of those law libraries that's in there by purpose to try to help such as that, to get some type of legalities out the way.
Listen, I need you to hold that thought. We're gonna take a break. Listen, we'll be back with more Push Talk Radio with Shante Nicole. If you guys miss any of this with Mr. Taylor Paul, that I have the pleasure and the honor to be right here in the Red Ink Radio live station, to be able to have this real talk interview with, you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back.